So, yeah, there was a couple Fire Emblem games on the SNES. So it went like 1, 2, 3 on the NES, and then 4 and 5 were on the SNES. And then I think there was plans to make a Nintendo 64 Fire Emblem game, and they never did. So 6 they just brought onto like the Game Boy Advance. So 6, 7, and 8, all those 3 in a row were all Game Boy Advance games. And then Fire Emblem 9 was like the first of Ike's games being on the GameCube. And then it was Wii around the same time as the Ike's game was the only one on the Wii, but around the same time was when like Shadow Dragon and New Mystery of the Emblem were coming out on the Nintendo DS as like remakes of 1 and 3. Is what it was here. Let's do some question marks along the way here. And the series was really dwindling down, and they were like, well, if the next game doesn't sell like at least 250,000 units, just accept this so it's in my inventory, I guess. I don't know, or it's something I can do right along here.
The wrong caravan.
And then Awakening came out, and like they went ham on it because they thought it was going to be the last game, and then it like sold like hotcakes, and then like it rejuvenated the series, and now we're in like the post-Awakening stage of you know, newfound appeal for Fire Emblem and stuff. And now the series is like really big since then.
I went home and saw they killed my family, stolen all they had. I refuse to die until I've killed every last one.
Those bandits have earned death, but you can't do it alone.
I would welcome your help. My name is Gomyo.
Maybe I should just do this while I'm in the area.
Show me where the others are.
I guess I'm doing this now. A debt repaid. But yeah, and I mean, it makes sense to have put in Marth with Smash, what with like the first Fire Emblem game protagonist, and not really having anyone else with like more of a presence than him anyway, so may as well do like the first one. Ike didn't exist yet when Melee came out. Like, it would still be a while before Path of Radiance came out. Hello, Mythic. Things are going pretty alrighty here. I've been messing around a lot with like 3D printing stuff and like struggling with it a little, but my printer's been acting a bit funny. I think one of the probes is going, so I might have to deal with that at some point. But yeah, so they couldn't have put like Ike in Melee. When they did eventually put Ike in the game with Brawl, he had like a completely different moveset from Marth to set him apart. Roy is really not a big name in like Fire Emblem at all.
They're outside the main camp.
But they put him into Melee just as like a Marth clone, just to be like, hey, an excuse for like another character here, like saves on resources by having a clone character, and it advertises like the next new game that's coming out of Fire Emblem 6, even though it was Japan exclusive. But like the advertising definitely did help, because I feel like Roy's inclusion in Melee got a lot more people intrigued about like who this is. Plus also just Marth being present as well, and like the rest of the world being like, hey, we'd like to play one of those games too, actually.
The whole prefecture. Let's go.
So then the next game ended up coming to Smash.
Watch your back.
It's Gomyo! I thought we killed him!
Oh, can I still assassinate? Ow. Okay, well, that sucks there. I have to ask, in all FE games, which one is your top favorite? I don't know, it's hard to say, because like so many Fire Emblem games that I play are like so good in so many ways, but always have at least one thing that like really sucks about it consistently in like each of the games that I play. So like my first one was Blazing Blade, and I did really enjoy it. So the first International Fire Emblem. I feel like the story could be a little bit better in like its progression. The whole stuff with like Lynn's story is like the basically tutorial for the game could have definitely been handled better and have like a little bit more impact on like the overall story. Gaiden chapters could be like not the most convoluted things ever to unlock. But I mostly enjoyed the game. There was no opportunity to grind, and I remember I soft-locked myself by the end because like my levels sucked, and like it was my first time playing a Fire Emblem game, so my strategies probably sucked too. And I literally couldn't beat the game the first time that I played. But I do definitely really like Blazing Blade for the most part. Awakening I really quite like, but it definitely does stumble a bit in some of its storytelling. Like, it is a little bit flip-floppy with it, let's say. So recover health while out of combat. Lunatic Plus has got to be like one of the worst designed difficulty modes I think I've ever seen in a video game before. Like, it is just so completely awful. I hate Limit Break, Limit Break is a skill that you can get that just increases your maximum stats by 10, which is massive. So when you only have 5 skill slots, Limit Break is so good that you have to run it. And all it does is make it that you can, like, get more points before, like, your stats are maxed out. That's all it does. So having 5 skill slots to customize your characters with, you may as well just call it 4 skill slots if you want to have, like, the best stats that you can. So there goes some of your customizability. If you want to be, like, spamming the best weapons without having to constantly remake them, you're gonna want Arms Thrift. And that just takes away, like, having weapon durability when you have, like, luck at the stats that you'll get it at with Limit Breaker anyway. So that's another skill slot that if you can fill it, you may as well fill it with Arms Thrift. So you basically have 3 skill slots to play around with. And if you have Gale Force, you may as well put that on, because Gale Force is so dang busted in Awakening. So if you have all 3 of those on, then you only have, like, 2 skill slots to play around with. And it takes away, like, as much of, like, the interesting strategy that could otherwise go into it, I feel like. So there's some gripes I have with Awakening. Fates was probably the first Fire Emblem game that I got, like, really, really deep into the weeds to. It was my first time I made a spreadsheet to, like, try and calculate what's optimal. That game does do, like, a lot of cool things. I think Fates might be my favorite Fire Emblem game, but the story is pretty ass. It is pretty awful. There's a lot of, like, really bad things about the gameplay that Engage improved upon. Like, Engage kind of felt like the follow-up to Fates is what it felt like to me. Where it's like 3 Houses was something different, and then Engage followed up from Fates is what it very much felt like. Like, with weapon forging, with collecting materials and being able to forge your weapons up to a +5. In Fates, it's like, put 2 swords together, you get a sword +1. Put 2 swords +1s together, you get a sword +2. Put 2 swords +2s together, you get a sword +3. So on and so forth, up to, like, +7. I think the most I ever got to was, like, +5, because it gets, like, so exponentially more expensive with, like, each upgrade. And, like, unique weapons just can't be upgraded at all, because you can't get duplicates of those. So unique weapons, which by default are, like, some of the best in the game, just, like, become worse and worse as time goes on, because you literally can't upgrade them, which really sucks. So there's things like that. The music in the game is fantastic. It did a lot of things I really liked with gameplay, like taking away gender-exclusive classes. Like, hey, you can go into whatever class regardless of what's between your legs, which I feel like lots of Fire Emblem games should have done earlier. And later games kind of got rid of that. But Fates also got rid of it, and it's DLC. Its DLC introduced new gender-exclusive classes, and it's like, what? That's what's gonna determine, like, what classes I can go into? What if I want to go into, like, the other classes? When the game's not gonna let me. And I want a maid class, damn it, that existed in Fates. But unless you say you want to be a maid class, the male equivalent in that game was Butler. And they acted functionally the same. So I don't know if that would count as, like, gender-exclusive classes, when it's just, like, 2 different names of the same class. But, you know, there were definitely still gender-exclusive classes and stuff there. Oh, and I did read that wrong. That did just directly say I want to be a maid class. Can I just, like... Ooh. Ooh. Okay, well, that worked fine, I think. So, you know, it did some stuff there. I cannot understate how bad the story is. Like, I already said that before. Like, that really sucks and is such a letdown. A lot of the maps, especially in Revelations, are, like, the most repetitive things ever. Just, like, sky map, sky map, sky map. And, like, and they all feel, like, basically the same over and over and over again. And it's just kind of boring and stuff. But, yeah, I really like the strategy that can go into it. I really like devising builds. Fates is probably my favorite Fire Emblem game, but there's, you know, a lot wrong with it. Echoes might have my favorite story in a Fire Emblem game. The story of that is really good. The gameplay is so dang easy. There's only normal and hard modes, and hard is still, like, super easy peasy baby mode. I feel like Fire Emblem doesn't really understand how to get anything but, like, super easy or so insanely tough, like, no in the middle so much of the time. And that was definitely, like, super easy peasy baby mode, that game. And I really wanted to have, like, more challenge to engage me more. And it remade Fire Emblem 2, and it kept way too many things faithful to the original game. For example, resistance growth rates. So there's, like, defense that's like your physical defense, and resistance, which is like your magical defense. And in Fire Emblem 2, resistance growth rates, like, really suck. They'd be anywhere from, like, 0 to 4%. there's characters that straight up have zero possibility of having their resistance go up on level up. And I, as someone that likes to, you know, max out my characters and do different stuff with that, I was wondering why I wasn't getting my arrows back. I wanted to make at least a perfect team of 10, because 10 characters is how many you can go into a dungeon with, and I wanted to farm for, like, the ultimate weapons in the final dungeon with my perfect team of 10. So I had one of, like, each of the main classes that I grinded up. My candidates for who were going to, like, be suited for the job is just whoever had the best res growth rates to, like, wind down my grind as much as possible. There's a DLC item called a Starja King that you can equip that gives all your growth rates a plus 30% boost, so every single stat is 30% more likely to increase on level up. Except for res. Resistance is a plus 5% extra chance of going up on a level up with Starja King, just because they wanted to stay so faithful to the original game of making sure that no matter what, your res growth rates are shit. And once you're max level, that's it. Like, there's no going and, you know, getting levels or getting your stats up again that away. Unless you go through, like, the Dread Fighter line, in which case you can reset back to Villager due to, like, a glitch in the original game and then an intentional mechanic in the remake, because, again, they kept it way too faithful to the original game. But under normal circumstances, you cannot level infinitely. So once you're at max level, that's it. It's done. Apart from using, like, the springs that can also increase your stats, but those are, like, finite uses, so of course I don't want to use those, because that's the way that I am whenever something's finite in a game. And so I just sat around grinding, getting levels, and if I didn't get a res level up, I would reset the game and just reset over and over and over again for res level ups. And it was pain. I am not getting my arrows here. So I put a lot of hours into that, and I did finally make, like, my perfect team of 10 with perfect stats. And I started grinding the final dungeon, because, like, the only achievement in the game I didn't have was having, like, the ultimate weapons. And once again, another instance of being way too faithful to the original game. The drop rates on those weapons are something ridiculous, like 0.04%, something like that. It is ridiculous. So I, after putting in all the time to make my perfect team of 10, did start grinding for those perfect weapons with said team of 10. I don't know where they are, so, oh, over here. I was about to challenge if I couldn't find them. And then when I actually started using the team that I'd grinded a whole bunch for, I eventually gave up on, like, the grind for the weapons just because they kept on not being dropped, and it's, like, the most ridiculous drop rates, and I was getting, like, too out of my mind about it. So, you know, there's definitely some things I hate about Echoes. Ooh, there goes his spear! Then, of course, there's 3 houses that I've rambled about extensively before, where it's like, you want the full story, play the entire game through 4 times, where, like, the first over half is basically exactly the same every single time. So, I hope you like repeating the exact same content over and over and over again. Like, the same 40 to 50 hours over and over again, just for a slightly different 20 to 30 hours after that. The calendar system making you want to be, like, as efficient as possible. The other Fire Emblem games that are a little bit more, free flow with having a world map and you being able to take your time with it. Well, the ones that have that, I'm saying. I know there's lots that don't, like Blazing Blade, for example. You can take your time with them. Like, you can keep on doing story maps until you get to a point where it's like, oh, I'm not strong enough. I guess I'll take some time to grind and, you know, really rethink things here. Whereas in 3 Houses, while you can just bum rush the main story if you really want to, you're wasting time slots that you're never getting back because you only have, like, a finite amount until, like, the rest of the game. Yeah, I can't speak to Persona 4, but I would agree with, like, Persona 5 there. It felt like they very much wanted to take, like, Persona 5 and apply it into Fire Emblem and, you know, implement that kind of calendar system, and I really didn't like how they handled it. So, I wasn't the biggest fan of 3 Houses there. And then there was Engage that has, like, some of the best gameplay in the entire series, I feel like. It actually did a lot of things right. And like I mentioned before, expanded on Fates in a lot of interesting ways. Stuff is happening over here.
I'll take your head.
I kept on... Oh, I wasn't really paying attention to what was going on, but now I have to... Oh, defend him. I thought that said defeat him. I was getting ready to kill him. So I was kind of getting ready to do there. Hi. How about I do this? But the over-reliance on a metric shit ton of never-ending random ambush spawns there be more foes spawning every single turn than I could take out every single turn. So it basically turned each map into like an invisible time limit. Because if more foes were spawning than I could deal with, they would eventually overwhelm me. And so it just became like a race against like, can I defeat the boss in time before like the random ambush spawns completely overwhelm me? And I didn't really like that. I kind of like being able to more take my time with a map instead of just like, hey, you didn't kill the boss fast enough, time to die, you know, is what I kind of prefer. Whoops, dang it, I hit the dodge button from Valhalla again. I'm gonna actually purposefully kunai this time though. That might be an appropriate instance. Especially in Fel Xenologue. Like, holy crap, Fel Xenologue. Unbelievable with, like, the random ambush spawns. Like, did they have people playtest it, realistically? Like, my god, Fel Xenologue was
I
unbearable.
should have been dead when
Like,
you first found me.
my goodness gracious. But Engage does definitely have some of the best gameplay in the series.
And now,
It really improved a lot of things from Fates.
Don't leave my body with this filth.
The emblem system was kind of cool, but like when you don't know when random ambush spawns are just gonna start appearing like non-stop out of nowhere, it motivates you to save them. Because if you like pop an emblem like in an instance where you don't explicitly need to, then who knows? Maybe this suddenly right after that a whole bunch of reinforcements will appear and now you really need it. So I would go through like entire maps without ever really popping my emblems, not really engaging them, because I kept on saving them for a what if a situation comes up where I need it. So I'm sure the game was intended for you to actually be popping them a lot more and playing around with their cool abilities, but I kept on not doing it because I wouldn't do it unless I explicitly needed to, just in case I needed it for a little bit later and I just wasted my charge there. So by handling the game in a way like that, it kind of incentivized me to not be using them throughout the game. There was kind of a similar problem that I had with Mario and Luigi Brothership with like the plug system, where it's like you start using them, you gotta use them down all the way, and then the recharge starts. So I kept on not using them because I wanted to save them in case like a potential boss appeared and I needed to save like my best stuff. I didn't want to waste it on like random trash mobs before that point, just for the game to be like, surprise, there's something really tough now and now you can't deal with it. And that was what happened with like Engage and what I was constantly worried about. So I kept on not using like the main mechanic of the game. Status effects last 50% longer and deal 50% more damage. Status effects being like, if I poison it just insta kills them anyway. Like Berserk, would that be like? Like the Berserk guys will deal more damage and they are berserked 50% longer? Like what does that mean exactly? I don't even know here. So, and that's all the Fire Emblem games I've played all the way through. I played a little bit of Path of Radiance many, many years ago, way before I was a content creator. But I never got, like, super far in it. I've played the first half of Sacred Stones twice. Not twice, many more times than that. I had twice on the mind when I was thinking about, like, the two routes of Iruka and Ephraim. About the one that was more memorable, not, like, Lunatic Plus, because that's pain. I mean, the game that's probably most memorable for me is Fates, with, like, the multiple routes and all the different stuff I was doing, and being, like, the Fire Emblem game that I probably went, like, most ham on first. In terms of Fire Emblem stuff, Black Dye Merchant. Oh, that's the thing that can dye my clothes black, but, like, I already have cool black clothes. Which one of you guys was gonna warn me that the Divine Paralogs and Engage were that tough? The Divine Paralogs go friggin' insane! Also, Redora Master, if you haven't cleared the first Divine Paralog yet, like if you're talking about like the DLC ones there, like that give you like the DLC emblems, if you haven't cleared the Tiki one yet, something that I didn't know when I first did it is there's a silver card available in the map. I don't know how like anyone would get this without like being told it anyway. It's outside of the walls of the map, so you need to use, like, a warp thingamabob to get there. There's, like, a glowy spot around, like, the top central area. It gives you a silver card that gives you, like, a 30% discount at, like, all shops for the entire rest of the game. I didn't get it when I played, and so I had to clear the other maps and then just, like, reset over and over again, trying to trigger a random encounter to happen there. Because you can, like, get it later if there's, like, random mobs to fight on that same map. And it took me a while before it ever spawned for me, and I had to do, like, my whole playthrough before it gave it to me. So, you know, I was not super fond of that. Just did Tiki, so whoops. Okay, you're in the same boat as me. if you're not playing on Maddening, it might be easier to get the Dudos to spawn. I think the spawning patterns for, like, enemies to grind against is different on Maddening, if I recall.
Pillaging the cemetery.
And I don't think they appeared for me at all on Divine Paralogs until I beat the game. So I needed to beat the game to get the silver card off of that map. So, you know, that kind of sucked there. But yeah, and with Sacred Stones, the first Fire Emblem game that I played, again, was Blazing Blade. Because I had a friend recommend me Fire Emblem Awakening, because Awakening was the most recent game at the time. So I didn't exactly play Fire Emblem any earlier on there. I absolutely could have, but I'd never played it before. So Awakening was out, a friendo recommended it to me, and it was a time that, like, emulators were becoming available on phones and stuff like that, and everyone around junior high school was playing those, along with, like, apps that were big at the time, like Clash of Clans shortly after that came out, you know? Everyone was on their phones playing games, and I always really liked still playing things with, like, start points, end points, rather than freemium games that go on forever. Like, I did play a decent smidge of Clash of Clans, I will admit, back then. But,
pillaging the cemetery.
I like playing games that I could see through. So after Awakening was recommended to me, I was like, huh, I should look up if there's any Fire Emblem games available on the Game Boy Advanced. Whoops. So I did. I saw what seemed to be the first one, because it was just called Fire Emblem. So I downloaded that, and I started playing it, and I really liked it. I told that friend later that the one I was playing was the first one. He was like, what the heck? Why are you playing the first one? That one's so trash. I didn't realize I was actually playing the 7th one. The first international one. So after I did Blazing Blade, and I really enjoyed it, I figured, like, the next one should be Fire Emblem 8, especially considering I wouldn't have been smart enough back then to know how to patch, like, Fire Emblem 6 and see how the story continued. If I was, then I would have just done that and seen what happened next in the story. But, you know, the natural next step was Fire Emblem 8. But Apple started cracking down on, like, things like Game Boy Advance emulators on their devices. So you would use it for a while, and then eventually you would try to open it, and it would give you, like, an error notification pop-up of being like, this thing cannot be verified and, like, properly opened and stuff like that. So I would keep on playing, like, the first half of Sacred Stones over and over and over again, and keep on losing my save file. Because I wouldn't be able to use, like, the app anymore, and then I need to delete it, lose my save data, re-download, like, a new version that works again for a while, and then I would start Sacred Stones from the beginning all over again, and then, like, rinse and repeat over and over again. So, I've never beaten Sacred Stones, but I have played a decent shit ton of Sacred Stones. It's definitely the case. And I do really like Sacred Stones. I couldn't tell you what happens in the story, because, again, I just played the first half over and over again. Like, I really don't know. But Sacred Stones felt like it was really, really ahead of its time for a Fire Emblem game. Like, having a world map, opportunities to grind, stuff like that. I do wish it was a little bit harder. Sacred Stones is a pretty easy game. The Burden of Theft. Sure, if I'm coming through here anyway. And it's been a long time since playing it, so I can't say if it's like Echo's level easy or what it is. Search for the hidden item. Wasn't really paying all that much attention here. But I do really remember liking Sacred Stones, but I don't think I can add it to the list because, like, I haven't actually beaten it. But yeah, let's see here. Persona 3, on the other hand, not as good with how it uses the calendar system. I can agree. Sure, stand up for that guy, because I feel like it. Took me 29 turns, and I lost half the units I brought with me. Luckily, I'm on casual. That sounds about par for the course for Tiki's map. It is friggin' insane. Like, a lot of the other paralogs for the Divine Paralogs are pretty ludicrous as well. But I think the one I had the most trouble with was probably Tiki's. Like, that map is insane. So, yeah, Engage gets kind of difficult there. The pain of Apple being Apple. Yeah. I would have an Apple phone. Gross. I know. The next one I might get, like, something else. Maybe I'd get, like, one of those Samsung flip phones and then put, like, a DS emulator on it. And then I could play, like, on the 2 screens or something like that. It's something I could see myself doing. I have an iPhone because I like the button at the bottom. Fair enough. Yoink. Yeah, my next phone here might end up being something decently different. Yeah, so somewhere over here. But yeah, and that's all the Fire Emblem games I've played. So I don't have a massive ton of experience in, like, pre-Awakening things. Like, I'm definitely not one of those people that's only played, like, Awakening onward and doesn't have any experience with, like, the older Fire Emblems. Because, like, Blazing Blade was my very first game. I really like it. I've played a shit ton of Sacred Stones. I've played at least the first handful of chapters with Path of Radiance, but not a lot. I wonder if I still have my save file on my computer. I do wonder. You want some more supplies? I can check out of curiosity. Well, I'm alt-tabbing as if I'm playing something on PC right now when I'm not. I'm playing a capture card game. I have to switch my input. Out of curiosity, this would have been like before I was even a content creator that I started playing this. Remind me later about that Dolphin update. Path of Radiance. Do I have save data here? Out of curiosity? Oh, but I need to like plug in a controller here probably. I'm just a little bit curious. What cable? Bear with me. Can I find out how much Path of Radiance I played? Let's see here. Am I not clicked onto the... Oh, here we go. Here we go. I'm doing things. Yeah, the game that's gonna cost like $200 otherwise, so don't tell the Nintendo ninjas. I just want to know, do I have save data? Or would that have been like too long ago? I'm be on like some complete other drive. Is my controller not set up? Or can I just like not skip this? Hold on. My controller might not be set up. Standard controller. Yeah, it is this. Oh, but it's like set to... Okay. Oh, I had this mapped out like a Nintendo controller, maybe? No, I don't know. I don't have... Oh, I do have profiles. Load that. Button 2. Okay, that is right then. Yeah, I just need to... Okay. No! What the heck? I just want to know if I have save data. It is so loud. Holy crap. It doesn't even look that loud there. Hold on, bear with me. Disconnected. Refresh. Oh, like that? There, come on. I'm never gonna find out if I have save data on this darn thing, am I? What do you mean disconnected? This? Okay, that apparently. Okay, I had something there. Do I have save data? Nope. Well, it took a little while to figure that out.